All right, Grasshoppers, we are live. We have some wedding confusion here, so we're going to be at a different time here. And yes, that is live from British Columbia, Larry Melnick. So we've kind of relented here with Larry. We really didn't want to have him on the show. Every time somebody else goes on the show, like James Patrick or something, Mel would send me an email asking for his phone number, kind of like hinting, like, "Can you get me on? Can you get me on?" So, Mel, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Really, you guys are funny. I wanted to get on the show. How long's the show been on? For like 2 years, and I'm right.
We thought you did.
This is 7 years now.
Yeah.
Oh, 7. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it's evidenced by the fact that prior to coming on, that Larry needed a little help with the volume button on the computer. He's just like the rest of us.
He cheated. He's got his daughter to help him. That's cool.
He's like a wedding crashers. No.
We were scrambling because she didn't have Chrome set up or Firefox, and I don't know how to do that. Gresh. So
Gresh always does it all.
We're good.
Nobody's calling
back from online. Yeah.
So Mel, tell me if this is true or not. I was told that the Player Association did a poll of who's the grouchiest player that's ever played in the NHL, and you won that.
No, he was tied. Tom.
Tied? Oh, okay.
Kelly Kissio.
Kelly Kissio, that's right. Muttley. We call him Muttley.
Kelly and I became pretty good friends. We bought a place at Rywood. He was my neighbor. I remember one morning he woke up and his van was on, well, not on stilts, but they had stolen his tires. Was he ever bitchy about that? No, I think, I knew you were going to ask me that question. I don't think you're the happiest guy either, Tommy.
Well, no, I am now.
Hey, no, Tommy fakes it.
That's right. So I think you're just born with a certain DNA, and I don't know. I'm just
no, you're not grouchy. I'm just kidding. You're not grouchy. You're a great teammate.
Yeah. No, I had a lot of fun in New York. We had a good time.
How many years have you been at Flames Rangers?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
So everybody wants to talk about the famous fight with Dave Brown, where you gave it to Dave Brown.
That was
a good one.
I was on like 7 American League teams. So the reason why I'm kind of grumpy, 7 American League teams in like 2 years,
right,
fighting Probert and Val James, Basil McRae, and all Al Tour, all these crazy sons of, and that Brown thing was just, he cross-checked me. That's the same game he cross-checked Sandstrom in the head. So he had cross-checked me in front of the net and knocked me on my ass, and I was pissed off. So I chased him up the ice and had to go. So
good. That was a good one. That was
okay. Like, I fought some guys that I probably shouldn't have, but that's just the way I played. I had to play like that. I had to play.
Right. I don't think that, people may not understand that, everybody finds the role and you do what you got to do. It's a little bit like when Peter Stemkowski used to say, hit him because he doesn't like it. Well, who liked it? But still, you're going to get hit and you got to get involved, right? I mean, that's the way the game was.
100%.
Right?
Well, I looked at some of Gresh's. He played in New Westminster along with me at Queen's Park Arena with Ernie Punch McLean, some of the toughest teams you ever played on. And Gresh scored, I think, 33 goals his final year in junior. Well, I had 50 or 60 points my final year of junior. I was an offensive defenseman. I go to Boston. I didn't even touch the puck. I played the best games when I didn't touch the puck.
Yeah.
That old barn in New West was nice to play in, though.
Oh, man. I started writing some notes down about some of the things, like the north end of Queen's Park Arena. We went to 4 straight Memorial Cups. I don't know if you were on one of the teams, Gresh, but those were the toughest teams in probably the history of the Western League, and won 2 of the Memorial Cups. No one's ever done 4 straight, but the Hells Angels were at the north end of that arena at Queen's Park. I don't know if you remember that.
And the prison, too.
Yeah, and there was one guy that had a fishing rod with a plastic yellow chicken, and he'd throw, if the referee made a shitty call or whatever, he'd throw that rubber chicken on the ice, and in the meantime, Punch is throwing hockey sticks and garbage cans on the ice and then we go brawl. That's how we grew up. And so you go from an offensive defenseman. I go to Boston. I couldn't play. You had Bork, you had Brad Park, you had some of these really good offensive players. I didn't play, so you had to find a different role. 100%.
So did you play the Memorial Cup in Kitchener then?
No, that was no.
That was
that would have been set like 70.
74 was Calgary. 75 was
right.
New West was 76, 75, 76, 77, and 78. And we won it in Sault Ste. Marie. Brad Maxwell, Bubba Beck, they won it in 77 here in Vancouver. I think they beat Bobby Smith in Ottawa.
Right. Wow.
Those were crazy.
Tommy, those Western, you hear the Western junior stories like, hey, listen, I admire every team should have 4 or 5 Westerners on it.
Right.
Oh, the road trips are great. You used to go from Kamloops to Edmonton, Saskatoon, Flin Flon 2 games, Brandon, Winnipeg 2 games, back to Brandon, to Regina, Swift Current, Medicine Hat, Calgary, and then fly home. That was in 13 days.
We never flew. We'd go from Vancouver to Brandon, which was like 22 hours.
Yeah. We
weren't allowed to sleep except for certain times. We weren't allowed to use the bathroom on the back of the bus. You know why? And Punch was pretty strict, but we'd go through the wall for him.
Why would you ever sleep? You couldn't sleep. Why?
Only certain time. He didn't want the guys sleeping all day, all night, and then go play. So he had 2 or 3. Well, you'd sleep for 6 or 7 hours at night when we're driving, but couldn't sleep during the day.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I used to drop us off, make us walk like a mile and a half before the game.
Yeah. And we never had.
Listen to me. In January in Flin Flon, it's not exactly like Miami. It's like, I think one time, we were in Edmonton and the wind was blowing from the north, had to be like 25 below. He only made us walk a mile and a half.
Yeah.
So I think Gresh, you remember telling me a story where you literally, you get off the bus and you have to use some way to unfreeze your equipment.
Oh yeah. Well, we played in Saskatoon one night, and this happened a lot of times. But Saskatoon, when I got on the bus, got to Flin Flon, played a night game at 8 o'clock, brawled till 2 o'clock. At a 1 o'clock game the next day, your equipment was never dry.
Here's a former Ranger goaltender that says the Edmonton Oilers Kings ruled the West. Dougie Sotar.
Yeah. He's the only guy who scored.
I think he's calling you guys out. That's what I think he's doing, right, Tommy? I think he's calling these New West Bruins guys out.
No, I know. Dougie Sotar stirring the pot here.
Soapy.
Yes.
Soapy, I think I got 4 on him one night.
He was a great teammate, Doug Sotar.
Oh, he was funny as hell.
Yeah, for goalie, right?
So what were you guys doing on the bus? Did a lot of studying? Like you guys brought your books and studied the whole time on the bus?
Played crib.
Yeah, no, a lot of studying.
Yeah.
I studied hard. I don't know about Mel, but
So Mel, you were drafted by the Bruins then, right?
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
What round?
Pardon me?
What round did you get drafted?
Before you, 4th round, 78 overall. That was the year that they brought in that first underage draft. So I got drafted as a 19-year-old instead of, because it was a 20-year. That was only 6 rounds, and that year was a pretty good draft for Boston. They took Bork before me for some reason. They took McCrimmon before me for some reason. Keith Crowder, Crucial Niski, myself, and Dougie Morrison, and we all went to Boston that next year. So
that's a good draft.
Pretty good draft. Pretty good draft. They did a pretty good job, right?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Well, yeah. Then they kept, like I said, Bork for some reason. He only played 22 years, and then they traded Beast McCrimmon to Philly, who we hated and beat the crap out of in '86. They thought he was a bad influence on Ray Bork. You don't influence Ray Bork. They thought McCrimmon was a bad influence? That was the rumor, yeah.
Oh.
Beast was they call him Beast because he was a wild man.
Yeah. That's why they traded Middleton.
Pardon?
That's why they traded Middleton from the Rangers. He was a bad influence on me.
Yeah, right.
That was a good trade, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one
kept him.
Yeah. He hooked up with Barry Peterson, scored 40. Barry and Nifty scored 40 goals for, 3 or 4 years consecutively.
I think he had a couple 50s in there too.
He might have, yeah. Amazing. He's like Tommy. His shot couldn't break a pane of glass, but he'd score from his butt. He'd score like amazing goals. They had a video of him just of all his goals.
That's Ricky, right? Rick Middleton?
Ricky Middleton.
Yeah,
He never scored on the slap shot.
Nope.
No.
Couldn't shoot. He didn't. He was one of the few guys that never put tape on his stick, and his shot would wobble, and the goalie could never figure out where it was going.
Well, though Tommy's shot was a little bit harder than Nifty's, but not much.
I don't think I ever scored on a slap shot either.
Yeah. Well,
what are you going to say?
Tommy scored his first goal in Boston. You know that, Mal, right?
Yeah, I saw that on his own goal.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Who was the goalie?
John Davidson.
Stevie Wonder.
He was really he was really happy with me too. I love the look he gave me. Like looking at me like, what kind of an idiot are you?
I could imagine.
Yeah. So Mel, do you do a lot of stuff with the Vancouver alumni out there, or is there a lot?
I do. Yeah. There's I try the Vancouver alumni for whatever reason has really gone down in the number of games that we play. It's not like a Boston and New York. Like Boston, I still get emails from them. Like they play 30, 40 games. Toronto plays 40, 50 games. We're down to like 5 or 6 games. It's just not a big draw. So we do that, and they've got us now since Burke and Quinn were here. They got us really involved with the community. We do Toyota appearances, sign autographs, go before games and do autographs up in the upper concourse. A lot of golf tournaments, but the hockey games have really deteriorated. Just not a draw. Are
you kind of mean to the little kids when you sign autographs, or are you nice to them?
I say hi.
Yeah.
He's working. Hey, Tommy, I think he's working on it. It's good.
You can tell there's a lot there. Hi thing. It's good.
Yeah.
That's probably a real thrill for the kids when Larry Melnick says hi. They probably run back to the parents who Larry Melnick said hi to me.
No, it's been 30 some years. They don't remember me. Wow. They don't remember. No, they know of Messier and Gretzky and all the big boys, but they say hi. Oh, I have to say, like, you know who I am? I said, no. You want an autograph? Yeah. That's fine. So.
Yeah. That too, how different we look. Like probably Gresh is the most recognizable. Like Dave and I are.
Yeah.
Following.
You guys look the same. Tommy, you look the same.
Well, listen, we had 2 games this winter, Larry, that were back to back with the Bruins. So our alumni group over time, right? Tommy, you played in the ones recently. But there's not a lot of guys that stick around in our area. I don't know what it's like out in Vancouver. But I know, like St. Louis is a great alumni. Buffalo is a great alumni because a lot of the guys stay in those towns.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
There's probably 70 or 80 ex-pros living in the lower mainland.
Wow.
So we have lots of guys to draw from, but I think, we're all getting older. Like I'll be 61 pretty quick here, and a lot of the guys are older that used to skate. We used to skate every Wednesday night. And a lot of the guys are getting older, and the younger guys just, for whatever reason, haven't really showed up. So,
well, Larry, maybe like keep yourself in better shape. Maybe, right? You can skate more, like conditioning.
Sure.
Hey, Larry, you might want to become one of Tommy's grasshoppers. You ever think about doing that?
Yeah.
I went for a golf lesson yesterday, and there was a little gym out at the golf course, and I lifted up, I think it was 135 pounds. I curled it twice. That's the first time I've lifted a weight in 40 years. So no, I walk the golf course. I live up on a mountain, Westwood Plateau. So I walk up and run down. There's hills and trails. I do that. A little bit of knee pain now, so I got to watch what I do. But I was skating twice a week. Gresh in New West, Queens Park is open 7:00 every Friday morning if you want to come for a skate.
Yeah, I would like to, but Canada's blocked up and I got to do the whole quarantine thing right now, so I can't make it this week.
Well, you can stay with me in my basement.
That's where I'm living now.
So, Mel, what are you doing for work now?
Here's a funny, Dave. I never met you, but I met obviously, I sat in front of your brother Dave for 3 years on the bus, and I remember going. Didn't he have to shave like at 9, 12, and 5 every day?
Yeah. So we're all, and he still has a decent head of hair. I think he kind of combs it over in different places, but the rest of us are like this. And Don, Don was not follically challenged, if you will. And
so I sat in front of him, and I respected him so much because he worked his ass off every single shift. But the point I'm trying to make was Atalanta Sosnoff was a Wall Street firm that got a hold of Dave and I, and I went to, it was I don't know if it was on Wall Street or whatever. In the month of July, just before the season and trying to get in shape for August, they asked me, and I think it was Dave or Don, to go and just go intern and go learn about the business. And I went in. It's funny because these guys from Wall Street have all these nice suits, and I'm going, it's July, it's 95 degrees out, and I've got my wool hockey jacket on, going on the train to downtown. And I'm thinking, I can't do this. So anyways, I took the jacket off and just went with a long sleeve shirt. I didn't even have a short sleeve shirt, and I didn't want to go buy one. So him and I would go down to Wall Street, and I said, I did it for a month, and I said, there's no freaking way I'm going to do this job because people are going on. I don't understand. Remember, the computers were huge.
Yeah.
I'm looking over the screens, and I didn't understand a thing that happened. I've been a stockbroker since 1993. So as soon as I retired, I've been trading stock. I've always liked it, but it's stressful. I didn't want to go from hockey and go into stress, but I guess I did. So.
Well, it's funny because I remember Atalanta Sosnoff. So I started at Bear Stearns, and they were a big client of our customers. So they were money manager, right? Yeah. I remember Brian Hall was and he was a big Ranger guy, and which again, like a lot of guys were intimidated to come to New York. But if you wanted to kind of explore different stuff, you didn't have to look far to find somebody that would either help you out or introduce you to somebody, and so. But it's amazing. You probably think back and say, well, wow, that was a long time ago, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was interesting. Like I tried to do as much as I could in the 3 years that I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Did all the Statue of Liberty, and even when I went back, like Tommy and I and Gresh had lunch, and I'd take the train from the station and go to Greenwich, where I used to live, or Mamaroneck, where we used to have a condo. It's the same thing. I buy a condo and I get traded, right? So, but
yeah, it hasn't changed.
Yeah, that was always a sign, right? Buy something and you're gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I knew the writing was on the wall when Kissio and I bought a condo across from each other, and Mikkel Bergeron, the little Frenchman, moves in across the street from me, and I said, this doesn't look good, because he was the coach of Quebec when I was playing in Boston, and that little guy would yell at me from the bench, and then he'd send out Basil McRae or Gord Donnelly or something after to fight me. So I said I knew my number was up as soon as he got to New York, and of course he traded Tommy, my defense partner, for Markel Dione, 35 years old. And because we needed scoring, right? We had the third in '86. We had the third best goals against. We couldn't score. We lost to Montreal, and so the Frenchman comes in. He brings in a couple of French guys, and then he trades Willie and I to Vancouver for Michael Pettit. And I don't know how that worked out.
Yeah, that didn't work out well.
Mike Small.
Yeah. So they took over, and Trader Phil dismantled that team pretty quick.
We had. Did you see the show we had Phil on?
I saw parts of it. Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, he got talking about the trades he's made there. He had some pleasant things to say about it.
Yeah.
Now, move on from that.
Yeah,
So when you come to the team, obviously, like Ron Gresher is kind of like an icon, like a Joe Namath, Derek Jeter kind of guy, right? Was he you when you came in the locker room, or how was he?
I think he was. I saw James. I don't think Gresh talked to me for a week either. I think that was
only because you played New West.
Oh, there's a natural reason not to talk to him.
Sure, that makes sense. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I know it doesn't. That's why it says it.
Were you intimidated, or?
Oh yeah, no, I was.
Yeah.
I think I remember about you most, Larry. About the thing about you is I remember playing in that '86 thing, and that opening face-off. We were all on the ice, and I can't remember the guy, Richter, whatever his name is, played in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Tough guy.
He came into the thing, him and Brown, they came in, they were going to like chase everybody off the ice. And you and Mac and Will came up, went nuts on the ice.
Well, I watched that.
It changed the whole series around for us.
Yeah. Well, they were 40 points better than us that year.
Yeah.
Like we went in there, and I think one interview, one of the report, I don't know if it was Helene Elliott or somebody comes up to me. I never did an interview. They never asked me anything. But going into that Philly series, first of all, Sater brings me in and says, "I don't want you fighting in this series." I said, "Okay, that's a fat chance that's not going to happen." And then a reporter comes up to me and says, "Well, what do you think about this series?" I said, "Well, I don't think I gave them credit. But I said, these clowns, every time they put that stupid jersey on, think they're tough." I said, "I'll fight any one of them." And sure enough, I think we're up 4-1 or 4-2. McClellan fights Carson. Paymont fights Tockett. I think Gresh, you and Crawford were on the ice. And then, unfortunately, I get Richter. But we beat him 6-2. And I don't know what was going through their head, because we played so good in that series. Like, it was, we stood up to all their bullshit. I think I also said 15 or 20 seconds after we passed the puck, there's Tockett and Stanley and Sutter and Mellenby and all these guys, they hit you 20 seconds after you pass the puck.
Always from behind too.
Oh, you had to keep your head up all the time. So finally, I think there was a little scrum, something like that big brawl. And I said, and Poulin was in there, and he used to run you off after the fact too. And I just said, "Listen, you tell your guys, you come near me again, I'm going to chop your fucking head off." And they gave me a little bit of room, but some of they're clowns. They're not going to listen, so they just did their thing.
No,
we beat
it's
them.
another ex-Ranger who I hate the Flyers fan or club, right? Everybody played
100%.
Hated what they stood for, hated how the way they played.
Yeah. Well, we got that out. Big Mac was probably one of the strongest guys. Remember, he was in the weight room. He was like, he was built like he was so strong.
He was tough too. I saw a fight. He fought Larry Playfair when Mac was still playing out in L.A. Fought Larry Playfair and knocked him out cold.
Yeah.
Man.
Who's that?
Larry Playfair.
Yeah, but who are you? Who you talking
about? Sorry, Brian McClellan.
Yeah.
Big Mac.
Yeah.
Huge man.
Yeah.
He was like, you could have a good conversation with Mac too, because he said like 2 words.
Yeah. Him and Mel sitting there having a conversation.
Hell of a conversation
right there.
Yeah. How's everything going, Mac?
So when I got traded to New York, I knew I had kind of been accepted because Gresh and Tommy would hand out the boarding passes, right, for the plane. They actually gave me an aisle seat instead of a middle. I said, "I know what I've now made."
Some guys got the middle that didn't like it either.
No.
Yeah, they don't quite travel that way now, though.
Yeah.
Here.
No.
Yeah, where you were sitting on the plane usually was indicative of where you were in the pecking order and stuff like that. Middle seat. Remember, we used to have to carry like shaving cream and stuff like that. Remember when we started in Providence, Gresh? Oh man, we had guys there that were like, I don't know, Dormy Dennis, Kenny Campbell. So they were career minor leaguers.
Yeah.
Right, and they were making probably $20,000. I don't know how much money.
Maybe not even back then.
Not even. So Gresh Walt's in there, and
they were making $7,500 to $8,500 a year, $10,000 maybe.
Yeah.
Dave comes in making $250,000.
Yeah,
we split that.
Yeah, not quite.
Mel, Dave was my roommate in 1974. I mean, we were roommates together.
Mm-hmm.
Scary right there.
Yeah.
I have a son just like Dave now. It was back then. When he lays down, he does not wake up until you like one of those. Likes to sleep.
Yeah.
Who's your roommate in New York, Mel?
Who was my roommate?
Yeah.
I had Kiss for Muttley for a while. Yeah, that was good.
Jeez, who's calling there?
Chloe.
I only remember being with Kelly Kissio, I think. Yeah.
Who'd you get traded for, or who'd they send? Who'd you get traded for to New York?
From Edmonton, it was Mike Rogers.
Oh, that's.
I think I was in I was in Edmonton. Had been on two Stanley Cup teams, luckily, and I had 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points in 6 games. +8, and they sent me down to Halifax. So I lost my marbles. And I didn't know it at the time. So I think Stevie Richmond, Grant Ledyard got traded, and I think Bubba was hurt. And I didn't know it. I think Anders Hedberg was out scouting the minor leagues, and I guess he saw me, and Craig Patrick needed a defenseman, and that's kind of how that transpired.
That's right.
You know,
So you went from Boston to Edmonton, then New York, then Vancouver.
Right.
so was Slats running the show in Edmonton then?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Who's watching?
It's funny. As soon as Clark Gillies asked every question, you see things starting to spin. We go, oh boy, there's something going on here.
The only time I ever talked to Sather was he'd bring me into his office. He says, "Larry, you're going to Halifax." I walk in, walk out. That was basically it. I don't think he knew. Harry Sinden and Sather were fishing buddies. So I don't know how the conversation went, but I was I don't know, I was in Hershey, Pennsylvania or somewhere, some little town, and they were on the phone and they made the trade. I got traded for, I think, Johnny Blum, and went to Edmonton.
Oh, yeah.
There, but no. Here's one story. I'm in Edmonton. We're going to East Coast. I think we're going to New York, Philadelphia, play 3 games. And at the time, Johnny Muckler used to hand out the plane boarding passes instead of the players. Muckler comes up to me, gives me a plane ticket. I look at it. It's to Halifax, not to Philly. I had enough clothes for 3 games. I never saw the light of day until I got traded to New York.
Wow.
That's how fringe average guys got traded. Like when I got traded to New York, I said, this is my last chance. Like I said, I was on 7 minor league teams in 2 years because Boston was so freaking cheap that they'd only have 3 or 4 guys in the minor league system. I was one of them. And I thought I was good enough to play, but obviously Sather or Sinden didn't. And I thought going to New York was my last chance, and it worked out okay. And then
you did great there. You did great in New York.
well, I remember that. I remember the first day that I was the first game was against the Islanders, the hated Islanders, and just on the James Patrick doing the crossovers on his knees. I remember pregame skate. Sather comes up to me. I think most of the guys had left the ice, and Sather comes up to me and says, "Larry, you're going to play with Willie Huber left side." I said, "Okay." Says, "Just come with me. Let's do some skating exercises." I said, "Holy shit, here we go." They said I wasn't a very good skater, but I got by. But he had me doing some stuff that Europeans, I had no idea. I said, if I don't play good tonight, I'm gone. Like, he doesn't like, I couldn't do one of the things he wanted me to do, not one. So we get into the game. We beat the Islanders that night, but I took an elbow from one of the Sutters, ironic, and I beat the shit out of him, and from there it worked out. We had a great run for I think about 50 games, and then I thought that year we should have won the cup. Like we were that close.
Yeah.
Well, it was Patrick Waugh, right? Montreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that one game, James Patrick got tripped by the linesman. Then Lemieux goes in and scores a goal, and that kind of sealed the. It wasn't meant to be for us.
Mm-hmm.
Good memory.
I wrote notes.
Wrote stuff down.
Yeah, but there's certain guys in that, like Glenn had some of the greatest players. I've played with some of, like I sat beside Messier for a year and a half. If there's such a thing as stalking, I stared down Gretz for a year and a half, watching every single thing he did. From the way he put his clothes on, the way he did his tie, the way he skates, and how he did his sticks, and how he, at the end of the year, he used to cut his stick down a half an inch more because he would be bent over because he'd be tired. He used to go on the ice for 3 minutes, take a 10-second break, and then go play for another 3. Like he had the wind, the capacity, the VO2, Tom?
Yeah, VO2, yeah.
Like he just amazing. Like there's a few guys I played with, like Ray Bourque, just loved the game. Just never took a day off. Gretz, Mess, like those guys were just.
I
22 years, man. Like, that's crazy.
I was lucky at Robinson out in LA there. He's the same way. He was like a little kid, you know, at
Yeah.
the end of his career. He just loved, like, seriously, he was joking around and laughing. He's a good man. Yeah. But that's true. You look at all those great players. They really did have a passion, like to be at the rink and like even in practice, having fun with the guys and everything.
Yeah.
And the little guy, Gretz, too, as much as he was in good shape, he could pound his beers too. Gretz.
I just had one. I didn't realize. So we got invited back to Edmonton for some reunions, 3 reunions in like 4 years, closing of the rink. And anyways, so we get back to one of the reunions and he's got his own whiskey. I don't drink whiskey, but of course he gives us a couple of bottles to take home. So in the summertime, I'll have one of his whiskeys with a lemonade, you know, after a game of golf. Then the other day I'm golfing again. He's got a beer. He's got a can of beer out. I think it's a Pils. And then he's got wine. So he's into everything.
Yeah.
Well, it is amazing though when you get around really good players, you really realize, you know, why they are, right? I mean, let alone, so they may be blessed with the skills or whatever, but you're right, their passion for the game. I mean, that's the thing that always impressed me. And I think if you're around really good players like that team in Edmonton, you know, that group that they had with, you know, Lowe and Coffey and Curry and Gretzky and Messier, you go down the list, Anderson, you couldn't help if you were just there every day getting better. You're like looking at it and watching, being around.
Our practices were no longer than 45 minutes. They had 5 or 6 drills, and it was all regroup and high intensity speed. And
Yeah.
I got traded. I said, I'm coming from Boston where it's grind them, dump it, you know, my type of game, to go there and try and skate with those guys. No freaking way I'm going to keep up with these. But it obviously it did help me.
Right, sure.
So it did help. And but I still, when I went to New York, I was still a defensive defenseman. But going into a game or going into those guys, they wanted to win so bad. And they were so talented. And I couldn't imagine the pressure that they had, like Gretzky and Messier. And the way they handled it, it was unbelievable. But it was fun to go to the rink because you knew you were going to win pretty much every night.
Right.
That's a good way to have it. And they were they were like Tommy and Gresh, and like nobody was immune to abuse. And the leaders of that group was Davey Hunter, Semenko, and Paul Coffey. So Coffey would come up to me and says, Melly, you're not very good. You're not a very good hockey player. So this is what you do. When you get the puck, one of your options is to shoot around the boards. You're good at that. The other option is when you get the puck, give it to me and get the hell out of my way. He'd be on me. That's the way.
And Smek was good too. Smek was pretty good with that.
Smek was the best.
Oh,
Boy, anybody that was like with him or knew him loved him, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like those like Clark Gillies, Semenko, all those big tough guys that have a humor to them. It's
Right.
But Semenko he got to know Ronnie Flockhart, who played in Philly. We won't mention that, but he played in Montreal. I got to know Ronnie Flockhart really well. Semenko would go to Ronnie Flockhart's house and stay for 2 months. It's a little condo. And Semenko would say, he'd say, I've been talking about myself for the last 2 hours. I'm going to quit. I want you to start talking about me now. stuff like that, you know. And just he'd look at you and like he had these, I don't know if they were green or blue or whatever, but they were like piercing, and you never knew if he was serious or he was just joking.
Yeah.
I got called up the second cup in '85. I got called up 4 times, and I think they lost 1 game in a row. But Sather was pissed off as the defense, so they called me up, and I walk into the dressing room and Semenko, quiet. We're going to be okay. Moses is here. He's going to save us. You know, I'm going to change what the
that's
what
right.
the team plays it. He was like he had the room. He had the city. Like he was as big as Gretz.
Yeah.
What I see you got your jersey up, your game jersey up there behind you.
Yes. I have that, and I have probably 5 pictures or paintings of New York skyline. Like that behind me is Brooklyn Bridge. Then I got the towers over there. So I really enjoy. I always look back on New York as I had a great time there.
Yeah. Well, the fans seem to love you. Everybody's writing in how great you are. So I don't want to show these comments up here and get your big head.
Well, you better start getting grouchy then.
So obviously that is not Mel's game jersey that's behind him there. That's his son's jersey from when he played here, right? Is that?
No, he was 3 years old.
Right.
That's my son's jersey for Christmas. He got that.
Oh, I thought that was
like
Kelly
3 years
Kissio's.
old.
I thought that was
Pardon?
Kelly Kissio's jersey back there.
That's too big for him.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Where is Muttley? Calgary?
That's last I heard. He was in Calgary. He's running the junior team there.
Yeah, he's running the junior team in Calgary, I think. Yeah.
Oh, the Hitman.
Yeah, I believe that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
And what do you have for children? You got boy and girl?
Yes. Daughter's 22 and my son's 25.
Oh, good. What's he doing?
He just finished University of Victoria finance. So, and then he just passed. He's going to go into finance as well to start, anyways. Freedom 55. He just passed his life insurance and mutual fund and ethics and all that stuff. So he'll start there, and but they'll be living.
Where are you from originally, Larry? Where?
Saskatoon.
Okay.
Saskatoon. 3 hours from Good Soil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
South of good.
South. Yeah.
In the warm.
Yeah.
The warm part.
Yeah. You're in the temperate hot zone of
That's
Saskatchewan, right?
Yeah.
I remember driving into Saskatoon when I was 15 or 16 years old. My father had a construction company who had to bring a D6C cat. Something was wrong with it. So me and my buddy took a low bed, drove it into Saskatoon. And the guy says, "Oh, this is going to take about 6-7 hours." So I said, "Okay." We went to a bar.
Oh.
Drank for 6-7 hours, and then went and picked this cat up. They loaded it up for me. I drove it back to Goodsell.
Wow.
3.5 hours, 220 miles, 4 hours.
So you end up? Did they have a junior draft then, Larry? Is that how you end up in New West, or how?
We had no draft back then.
So what do they put you on? How are you invited to camp or something? Is that how it worked?
Yeah.
Well, I was born in Saskatoon, and my dad worked for the railway, so we moved to Winnipeg, and I didn't know. I was 12, 13, and there was a New Westminster Bruins scout by the name of Haas Nicholson, and I guess he saw me play. The Blades didn't put me on their list or something. And I think it was at the time, Gresh, I think it was a 90-player list. And
yeah, they had they got 90 or 100 they had.
Yeah, so they put you on that list, and just
so they had your. So if they claimed you, they had your rights, and then. So do you remember your first camp as a junior? How old were you? Went to New West camp.
First camp, I went to Westlock, Alberta. I was 16, and I remember going in. There was a few ex-Rangers. Johnny Ogrodnik was there. Brad Maxwell, Bubba Beck. And I remember the first practice, I go up to Dougie Sauter, who was going to be my coach in BC Junior. And I go up to Dougie. I said, "Dougie, who's that big guy out there? He sure doesn't skate very well." He says, "That's Bubba Beck. He's going to go first overall." I said, "Oh, he's pretty slow." And he ended up going first overall. And then I remember Johnny Ogrodnik was he brought weights to training camp. So that's the first time I've ever seen anybody lift weights. And Johnny, he was pretty built, and he's always fixing his hair and shit. He'd be lifting weights, and I said, "I'm in trouble here too. Is it all shit? What have I got myself into?" So
yeah,
we used to go every Sunday night and watch the New Westminster Bruins. So Maxwell and Beck were basically our idols. That's all we wanted to do is get into junior and Western League, and because back then the colleges really didn't look at us.
Right. Right. He used to. Well, I'm a little bit older, right? But if you're playing college hockey, generally you weren't good enough to play junior.
Yeah.
That was the deal. Or unless you're Tommy.
Yeah, exactly.
You're supposed to go the academic route.
Yeah, get an education.
Get an education.
Harvard or the Midwest, Northern Michigan University. I went to truck driving school a little longer than I went to.
What was your major?
I ended up being a speech major. I went there for business, but that wasn't working out too well. So I switched to speech because there's one professor. All you had to do was show up to his class and And that's pretty. I can do that. So I signed up for a bunch of classes. He died during the summer, so speech classes. So.
That's probably because he had all hockey players. So, this is what happened.
So back then, obviously, they like to do it online now, but back then people would print out flyers and, like of jokes. So somebody had printed out a flyer of personalities in the men's locker room, or the men's room, like urinating. Like, some guy would bang his, learn all this kinds of stuff. So I thought this was hilarious. And I really hadn't prepared for my speech that night that I was supposed to make in front of class. So I brought this pamphlet where I made the speech of all these different personalities in the men's room. And I ad-libbed a little bit as stuff. The class is laughing, joke around. They think it's really funny. I'm thinking, this is great. I'm really making out good. So the teacher actually gave me an A for content, but I think gave me an F for preparation, I think. So I got a C. Worked out good.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
All things have changed, huh, Tom?
Yeah.
Now he gets
I have to really clean things up now. Like Mel gets on here swearing. Phil Esposito, James Patrick. I was really surprised by him swearing.
Yeah.
I heard him swear the whole time.
He's probably second place runner, right? I mean, somebody's got to come on and to beat Phil. That's going to be.
No, you can't. You never beat Phil.
Well, we maybe get Chris Kotsopoulos on. That might make it better.
So now let me ask you: do you get up at 3:30 in the morning like Tom does?
Yeah, but only to pee.
You're guilty.
Yeah, no, I'm up by 5. The market opens at 6:30, but then I go through the news and TSN and watch the news and that. But I don't sleep very well, not anymore. So if I get 6 or 7, I'm I get up a couple of times, and so. But I'm up early. Yeah,
now,
I get done by 7 a.m. than most people.
You still follow the game quite a bit, the NHL, and watch on?
Not really. No, I do. I don't watch the games like I used to, but like I said, I'll go on TSN. I kind of know what's going on with it. I don't like watching it because nobody gets touched, and when you get hit, you get a suspension. Everything's debatable. I don't like the replays. I think there should be automatic icing. I can go on and on. Don't get me bitchy.
That's bitchy. You've been bitchy for like 60 years. I don't know.
61.
61. No, you were good the first year, I heard.
Yeah. First year of what? When I was a 1 year old?
You were a baby. Your first year born.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's debatable.
Yeah.
But
Now, did your son ever play, Larry?
Yeah, he did. And I think that he grew, but unfortunately, he didn't grow till he was like 18. He's 6'2", about 215. I skate with him like Friday mornings, and he'll come out with some.
Great.
He's a really good player, really good. And he just wrong place, wrong time, didn't grow. We have a BC Junior League team about 13 minutes from my house. He should have made that team, but you only have a certain number of contracts that you can sign, and they'll bring in a guy from Kentucky or where Tommy's going, or Alaska or someplace that uses up a card, and you got a guy that's better than this kid, but the card's used up. Or you got guys that will actually pay to have their kids play on a team, which I never knew happened, but I guess it does.
Well, the BC Junior League, hasn't it become a bit of a feeder for American colleges too now?
100%. That's why I was so pissed. He would have had if he would have made one of those teams, he would have had a full ride.
Right.
There's out of Penticton, which is in the interior, about 3 hours from here, every one of their players gets a ride.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of schools like Michigan and those schools, right? Michigan gets a lot of kids out of there. Yeah.
Well, I had an opportunity. I played in the BC Junior. Wisconsin came up and talked to me. I think this was like 1977 or something. They came up and told me, "Listen, we'd like you to come down to the facility, take a look, and we'll bring your dad." And I said, 100%. Just give me a call. They never called.
So it's probably your personality, the way you acted, probably.
Probably. So I made my decision to go to New West pretty simple. So
Well, Denver wanted me. But they asked me one question. I go, "What?" They go, "How's your schooling?" And that was the only thing that stopped me from getting into college. Was high school.
Just a little small detail, right?
It was a little small little problem we got. What's that? I go, I don't know. I beat my dad by 5 years, though.
I Brown recruited me before I went to Northern Michigan, and the coach was a great guy. And I can't remember what his name was. And once he saw my grades, he called me up and he's real gentle. He says, "Tom, we really have to have you play for our team, but a little issue with your grades that just really doesn't make it for Brown." Northern Michigan, they didn't care.
You're in trouble when it takes you 14 years to do grade 12 or get your grade 12. So riding the buses didn't help.
School of hard knocks.
Yeah.
Well, one of my cousins in school, he was like the most popular kid when we were in grade 7. He was the most popular kid. You know why?
You had a driver's license?
Yeah. He could drive us back and forth to school. We didn't have to walk in the snow.
Dave, were you a pretty good student when you were younger?
I did okay. Yeah. Well, it was different. I was living at home. I mean, I was living at home playing junior, and I mean, we had the bus trips to Sault Ste. Marie and Sudbury. Yeah. But that wasn't everything else was,
yeah.
How long were they? How long were those trips?
The Sault was probably 9 hours. That was it. You only get there twice a year or whatever. So listen, it's funny you talk about frozen on the bus. I remember Pat Hickey, your equipment or something frozen on the bus. Pat Hickey played junior for Hamilton, and they were up coming back. So usually you did either a Sudbury on the way up, Sault, and then doubled it up and came back. So on the way back, there was a reporter for the Hamilton Spectator that covered the team that traveled with the team. So they're playing cards in the back of the bus. He dies.
Oh.
So he has a heart attack or something. So what do? They put him underneath with the sticks.
Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do. You got to keep him cold. You got to keep him cold.
January, February, the poor guy passes away. So they just, I guess we put him down with the sticks. Oh, boy. I don't know. The junior leagues, a lot of stories, I'm sure.
Yeah. Hey, before we forget, I know we talked about it before we get on the show. Obviously, we lost Bob, former New York Ranger captain, recently. So I know you guys knew him better than me. I think I've met him at a couple of events, but apparently a good guy, right?
Yeah. I met him back in. He was playing for LA. He was in New York for a bunch of years, but he got traded to LA, whatever. And it was funny. The story I remember about Bob Nevin is he was living with Rod Jobert, I think, or living in the city or somewhere, and he was having a couple of beers one night, maybe one too many, and fell asleep in the cab. And the cabbie beat the crap out of him and threw him out of the cab.
Beat Bob Nevin up?
Yeah, and he stole his Stanley Cup ring from '63, I think it was, whatever it was. Like they weren't rings like they are today, but he stole his ring. So there was a place, the bocce place on 61st Street.
Vagabondo.
What's that?
Vagabondo?
Vagabondo. Like years later, like he wasn't even playing anymore for the Rangers, and he was in there and he was having dinner, and the server has the Stanley Cup ring on.
Really?
So he goes, "Where'd you get that ring?" They go, and somebody else. Bobby didn't ask him. Somebody else asked him. He goes, out of a pawn shop. So he goes, "Well, that's Bobby Nevin's ring. It has a little name on the side, The guy goes, "Well, I paid $40 for it. Do you want it back? You can have it back." Bobby goes, "No, it's okay. Thanks. You keep it." I had no trouble with it.
Wow.
He got the crap beat out of him. And,
wow.
But Bobby was tough at the end of the last 3 years, maybe. He was a little tough for him, and 80 years old, whatever, and he had a little problem with, I think, dementia and stuff like that. But he was a lot of fun to be around. Yeah,
he had stories too, right? I mean,
and the problem with this, he's 82 years old and he passes away. And Dave, we played against him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make you young either.
Yeah, no. Listen, the alternative stinks, so I'm fine.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's just he was such a great guy, and then he just things in life or whatever. And
I remember him more when he played for the Leafs when he won the Cup with Stemmer in '67. So I was a big Leaf fan growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
And then I remember when he got traded to New York. So, and then we get to know him a little bit over. Again, we don't have a lot of guys around the area, as you were talking before, but the alumni does a pretty good job of bringing guys in, when we have our golf outing and stuff. So
no, it's pretty good like that.
Yeah.
I think we have enough guys here to play one shift of one pickup game.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got Villamir lives around here.
Yeah.
The three of us.
Right.
Andre Dory.
Trapman.
Dory,
Yeah.
the tough kid that played for the Rangers a few years ago. He lives up in Danbury, I think.
Oh, Coldmore.
Coldmore. Yeah.
Great kid, great guy.
Yeah.
You'd love him, Mal.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah. He's really a good dude.
Yeah, and there's not many guys. Well, Mike Backman.
Yeah, Mackey's around.
And
Yeah.
then Stemmer. Stemmer could be the goalie because then nothing would get by him. He's not here to defend himself. Too bad.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
and Rod Gilbert, but Rod's.
Yeah. Well, Sean Avery's actually here too, but I don't think
Sean
he.
Avery, yeah. He does a pretty interesting podcast.
Yeah, he's interesting.
Yeah.
So when you think back of your career, Larry, do you have good memories of your career?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, right. So when you retired, did you kind of retire because you thought it was time to move on, or did you think?
Well, when I got traded with Willie here, I think 3 games in, I used to block a lot of shots, and I got away with it up until I got here. So I blocked a Randy Carlisle slap shot that broke my orbital bone.
Wow.
I went down and slid, and so I was out for a month and a half with that. And then I started having back pains, and I ripped my thumb apart. Then a skate cut my tendons in my arm. So I was hurt all the time. I was playing in a lot of pain. And I basically said from when I started, I gave it 10, 11 years and I'm done. And that's exactly what happened. So, like I said before, to play with, Bork and Gretzky and Messier and another thing, one of the greatest Rangers, Brad Park, I was lucky enough to be his defense partner, in that year when Bork and McCrimmon, we all broke in together. And I remember sitting on commercial flights with Brad, and I said, Brad, I'm struggling, man. I got sent down to the minors. Those idiots down there had me playing left wing. I'm a defenseman, 4th round. I think I'm good enough to play defense. And I said, Brad, I'm struggling. So we'd be on commercial flight, and we'd be back when you could order beers, and we'd sit and talk for hours. And he helped, just little things. Where do you put your stick? And, how do you do a 2-on-1? He says, well, you do this half circle and get in, put your stick here if you want the guy to go to the right, to the left, and just positional play. And so you playing with guys like that, and again, Gretzky, Messier, Coffey, and then come to New York and play with, Gresh and James Patrick and your brother. And then Vancouver was kind of, you reach the pinnacle in almost in 86, and then you come to Vancouver on one of the shittiest teams in the league at the time. And it kind of was demoralizing. And we got better when Trevor Linden and 88, and we brought in Paul Reinhart, and we started to get a little better. So I've got no regrets.
That's great. Great.
Yeah, a couple of Stanley Cup rings, and I'm relatively healthy. I get up in the morning, I crack my shoulders a little bit, and knees are a little sore, but other than that, everything's good.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah.
It's all worth it. It's all worth it.
I just want to say one more thing about, I've never met you. I know I got to know Donnie pretty well, and the intensity, you can't make up that intensity. So I know you throw your golf clubs. I've broken 4 golf clubs this year in 4 different ways, and they say that's a bad attitude. I said, well, no, you can't be mediocre. You have to be the best you can be, and so I look at it. I never backed down from anybody. I did what I had to do. I liked my teammates, whether Tommy thinks so or not. We had a great time. We had a great time. It was a great life.
So you and Dave, do you play tennis at all? Do you play tennis?
I don't
Dave playing tennis would be a lot of fun. We could probably bring in a couple hundred rackets, and you guys could go at it.
We could do that.
No, I knew I loved Larry Melnick.
Yeah.
Didn't even know. I knew I loved him.
I think I can speak for Gresh when I say this too, and all the other guys. Mel was we joke around about being grumpy and all that, but Mel was a great teammate.
Oh, yeah.
For somebody, and you said it, you backed down from nobody, and like when the team needed you to stand up, you always did. You were a great teammate.
I remember that so well.
You guys too.
That first game in Philly, they were running around like a bunch of wild dogs out there, and and Mel gets up, and there was and Mac, and it was like, okay. And I didn't know Mac was that tough. I didn't know he was that, like, I knew Mel did a little fighting here, but It was amazing. Changed everything around for us. Even though it went 5 games, but we killed them in all the 3 games we won.
Yeah, no, I saw. I watched a little bit of video. I think it was Sutter and some other guy was. I think Brown, because Brown went stupid after the fact too. I think he ran Beezer, and but we're up 6-2, man. And you just to look at they were deflated. They said that they couldn't believe, that we went in there and just dominated.
Yeah, so. And they used to get all pissed off too, because I used to say to some of those guys who were standing on the face-off, I'd go, listen to me, I'm going to let the puck go in the corner. I want you guys to pick it up. And then if it's still not in pieces, I'll try getting it away from you. And they used to start snorting out there.
Well, they probably had a hard time figuring out actually what you were saying. So,
I know. No, they're going like,
what?
What?
Anyway, all just hockey guys. Good.
Yeah. Well, Mel, if you ever want to come back on again, just ask me. Don't play around with games like emailing me. Just ask me directly. Okay?
It was
I don't have any more stories to tell.
You'll think of some.
So you and I played together for probably 2 years, right, Tommy?
Yep.
There's a reason why. Sorry.
Were you there when Gretzky scored the 200 and some points that year? The 212, whatever it was, 215. Were you there that year?
I was there for 80, just before I got traded to New York. So 85.
One of those 2 years.
I think it was 84.
215 points or 212, whatever he had. That's a good career for a lot of us.
Well, was that the year he had more assists 1 year than the next 2 top scorers?
Yeah, he had 167 assists.
Yeah. What were we going to say about our 2 years together, Mel?
Well, there was a reason why I played the right side and the reason why you played the left side.
Why is that?
Well, you couldn't turn to your right and I couldn't turn to my left. And who had a harder shot, you or me?
Oh, you did by far. I didn't think
Thank you.
Great.
It used to go down the list, the hardest shots in the team all the way down. Then there was a big gap, and then there was Tommy.
Oh, I heard one time it was I'll never forget Madison Guard just coming over the blue line, and it went off my stick 100 miles an hour. And I'm thinking to myself, how the hell did I do that? It was I never could do it again, but that was one time.
Well,
yeah. Well, Mel, great to have you on. Seriously, you're doing
great, man. You were great. Thanks for coming on.
Good teammate, Mel. You were a good teammate.
You guys too. And if I could ask for one thing, I've got a Ranger jacket here. Gresh, if you could send me a Ranger mask before you give one to Tommy, and I would like a hat and a golf shirt. Thank you.
Yeah.
What would you want?
There it is. It's gone.
You mean this mask?
Yeah.
That's why he's saving it. That's why he's been saving it right there. See, now it all falls together. Now I see what's happening.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
I guess we're gonna have to get you one, Mel.
Thank you.
What else did you want?
Well, a Ranger golf shirt just to show some people up here.
Okay.
All right.
Is that good?
Okay.
Get that done.
That's it? That's all you want?
That's about it, I think.
Yeah.
No toques or no.
Whatever you got, a nice care package. Adam Graves came to Vancouver a few years ago, and we had a free beer and lunch just before a Ranger Canuck game, and he gave me a jacket. So I wear that every now and then. So I may as well wear a golf shirt. I'm golfing every day.
Perfect. You got it. We'll get it done. Gresh will be on that. He'll get that to you the same time he gets
Let me write that down right now.
Yeah.
All right. I'll send you my number.
Yeah. Good luck with
I
it.
don't think your number is doing much good, but an address would be pretty good.
Okay.
All right.
On that note,
Golf shirt.
Wedding, Dave.
Thanks, Tommy. I got my quarantine's over, so wedding this weekend, then I'll be back home. So look forward to seeing you guys next week. Larry, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Great. Thanks, guys.